Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. It's Monday, July 11th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to look at the broader market. We're going to look at crypto. Bears have short-term control. There is one pattern I'm watching that bulls could potentially pull off. That is something that is worthwhile to keep an eye on. And we'll check all that out in just a moment. Appreciate the likes and shares and all that. Portland, Oregon, England, sunny England, Netherlands. We'll get started here in just about 10 seconds. So first things first, we're going to look at the broader market and the dollar. So on the NASDAQ, we have the daily time frame setting a lower high. And crypto gave us a tell. Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these cryptos started daily consolidation over the weekend. Many of them rejecting from resistance and pulling back on the daily time frame. Then this broader stock market does the same thing after futures opened and after a little bit of trading. So it's a very similar tightening range. And this morning I was bearish the NASDAQ because of this 4-hour head and shoulders. So entered a bearish position. We got extreme. The 15-minute RSI got down into the teens. The 5-minute RSI on the morning was down into the teens. So I exited that position and have entered back some of it on this bounce. And the bounce is just looking for an hourly lower high, currently testing EMA 12 resistance. So bears winning the start of the week by rejecting from daily resistance and continuing to tighten up in equilibrium. So one thing that I'm watching for from here, and the hope for the bulls, would be a 12-hour cup and handle. And that is still a possibility. So I was bearish this morning, had no interest in bull trades. And while I was live streaming, I could see, well, if we set the low of the day right now, which we did, and if the bulls control the rest of the day, there's a possibility for a 12-hour cup and handle. So this is the NASDAQ version. This is the S&P 500 version. S&P 500 is a bit stronger than the NASDAQ. And essentially, we would have to see a 1-hour inverse head and shoulders, change the trend back to the bulls, and shape up that 12-hour higher low. In the end, it's probably going to be CPI numbers Wednesday. So that's when we get our inflation data Wednesday pre-market. So that's about a day and a half, a little bit more than that, but about a day and a half from where we stand right now. That's what we're looking towards as the next fundamental catalyst. We then have earnings season starting, but we'll worry about that at the end of the week. For now, it's CPI on Wednesday. So essentially, if these bulls can confirm an hourly trend change in their favor, they will be set up for the possibility that a bullish reaction to CPI numbers confirms a 12-hour cup and handle. That is the only path forward that I see for bulls to take some short-term control. I'm managing some open positions right now. I just reshorted QQQ a bit with this bull break and zero follow-through. Going to take off a little bit of that position because I'm short the biotech sector as well. So just taking a little bit of profit off and watching to see if we follow through for the bears for an hourly lower high into consolidation. So I'm watching that possibility. I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but I'm aware that it's possible. So we'll keep an eye out, and tomorrow, if we don't confirm an hourly trend change, and if the low of today breaks tomorrow, then that's out the window for me. And it's just a good old-fashioned daily equilibrium. And we'll just watch for the continued tightening range and likely a break next week if that does happen. The dollar is still all bulls. 4-hour uptrend remains intact. We almost saw daily consolidation begin with the profit taking that we saw on Friday, but we held 4-hour support and hit fresh highs. Daily stair-step pattern with a higher low every single day for 10 days in a row. The bulls are in complete control of the dollar. So we're keeping that in mind as well. We would have to see the dollar top out into daily consolidation if the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were to be a possible 12-hour cup and handle. So it's not the most likely scenario for me, but it is something I'm definitely paying attention to over the next 24 hours. And it will become more legitimate if the hourly trend changes back to the bulls from here. So now on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin broke daily resistance with zero follow through, which is a red flag, because we know bull breaks with zero follow through often lead to rolling over and fresh lows. When have we seen that in the past? Right here. Sideways, bull break, no follow through, roll over. And even here, a little bit of sideways, bull break, no follow through. So that's a red flag for bulls, obviously. But I am scouting a daily higher low, anything above 18.6 thousand. Bulls have a lot of space to work with for that daily higher low to try and form. So I'm anticipating that we're going to see tightening daily ranges on crypto continue to form for a good part of this week. And again, the CPI numbers Wednesday morning, I think 8:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, Eastern, going to be important to pay attention to. There were a lot of setups for bears and for hedging bulls. So again, we got to talk about hedging because that is the most under-addressed aspect of trading, certainly in crypto with the wild volatility. But for new traders in general, just not having the concept of hedging down and just having an example where we just had very clear opportunities for bears to aggressive bears to top fish and for bulls that want to hold their positions for weekly bounces but protect them in case we pull back for multiple days to enter bearish positions to try and offset them. And I posted a snippet from one of the videos from the end of last week that I made talking about hedging and bearish entries, even if you're bullish. So Bitcoin wasn't as easy as other altcoins because other altcoins rejected from resistance. Bitcoin was a little bit more tricky because we broke resistance and then rolled over into daily consolidation. So we'll look at a bunch of those altcoin setups for where the bear entry opportunity was. And as far as Bitcoin is concerned, hourly, so trying to shape up an inverse head and shoulders similar to the broader stock market, and we would need a 4-hour trend change back to the bulls for the daily higher low to be set. But tightening daily range is where we stand after a failed bull break. And it's not surprising that we failed the bull break because, again, the broader stock market, which is dictating things in my opinion, didn't break resistance. And if we look at the Bitcoin divided by NASDAQ chart to see where is relative strength and relative weakness, we are still sideways, which is telling us that we are still doing exactly what the broader market is doing. Sometimes we have a very slight amount of strength, sometimes we have a very slight amount of weakness, but overall, over the last 1 month, we are doing exactly what the broader stock market is doing. So until we get a convincing break of this sideways channel, that's going to remain the case. So we're watching that very closely. So Ethereum was the easier top fish. Why? Because we rejected from resistance by less than $5. You know, if I enter a bearish position at $12.60 and I put my stop at $12.91, I'm risking $31. And the reward at this point is already $120 plus. So reward is 4 times more than the potential risk. The probability of getting stopped out is fairly high because you're trading against all short-term momentum to make that bearish entry. But the risk is very small, which is why I like top fishing and bottom fishing plays. That's what I just did on the biotech sector. So biotech sector has this clear resistance level. This is 5-minute time frame day trading here. Look at this top at 82.19. Then we top out at 82.15. Then we top out at 82.14. I see 82.19 break by a penny. That's a double top for me. I short right there. And then I exited half very quickly. I'm now in a risk-free position, short the biotech sector. So I short it here, I exit half here, and if we get a bull break, I'll stop out break even. I can't lose on this trade. So there was decent probability that when I entered right there, that I would just stop out very quickly for a tiny loss. But here it is working out. Tiny risk, reward is far greater than that tiny risk. If this is an hourly bear flag that confirms, it's going to be a big win from tiny risk. But it's the same thing. It's just an entry right at resistance for top fishing that crypto bears were presented with last week. So for Ethereum, it was a daily stair-step pattern. There were two scenarios. I mean, you could have entered as an aggressive bear right at resistance, or waiting patiently for the inside bar to break bear at 1203. That saw plenty of follow through as well, 5%. So stair-step pattern with a higher low every day for 7 days, that pattern breaks. So again, just very simple, just an equilibrium. I'm scouting a higher low compared to 997 is the most likely scenario because that's still 15% to the downside. And I'm looking for this range to break probably next week. But no need to try and predict that. We can just take it one day at a time. 4 hour, just going to be looking for a lower high to be the result of any bounce. 4 hour trend change back to the bulls needed for a daily higher low to be shaping up. Biotech bears following through a bit. So let's now look at some altcoins. And yes, all this is in hindsight from stuff that was posted last week. But if you are struggling to trade bearish, struggling to hedge bullish positions, you want to be looking in hindsight, reviewing things and saying, what could I have seen differently? How could I have been better positioned? And so here's just a few that we're going to go over before I look into the chat room and answer any questions from there. But Sol was one of them. So Sol on Friday at 9:21 a.m. At that point in time, we're down here. And I see the size of this pullback on the 4 hour time frame, still in an uptrend, but the size of this pullback is big enough for me to say there is space being created, and the next time we bounce, I'm going to be looking for a 4 hour lower high as the most likely result. And Sol was the example that I gave. We could still bounce 5% from here and still easily form a 4 hour lower high. So from 36.58, we ended up bouncing 7% or so, failed to break resistance, tightened up, and then rolled over. So again, top fishing play, very little risk before stopping out. If we break $40, you stop out. And again, the reward, I could short it at 39, have my stop at 40.01. I'm risking $1, and the reward ends up being $5. The name of the game for trading is putting yourself in low risk, high reward scenarios. And top fishing and bottom fishing is a great way to do that. Again, you can take that top fish trade, and if you stop out 3 times for a $1 loss 3 times, and the 4th time it works out for a $5 pullback, you're ahead of the game. It was worth it. You lose $3 and then you make $5. So that's why I like these top fishing and bottom fishing plays, because even if you fail a few of them, it's the one that makes it worthwhile. Gonna take a little bit more profit in some short positions in the stock world. Just slowly scaling out. XBI had a notable bounce there, so seeing a lack of bear follow through, but again, just sitting in that risk-free stop at this point. So that was the Sol example. ICP, when I was live streaming on Friday, I was talking about the 15-minute volume climax, and I was 1 candle too early. I was looking at the volume and thinking that this was going to be a 15-minute volume climax, and we got one more, and once that candle started forming, we could say the candle, we got half of the volume of the previous candle. We're not halfway done the time of the candle, so we're going to see more volume this one. So certainly did not nail the top. I was a little bit early, but just want to show how the volume climax marked the top. Now, I could not look at that and say, this 15-minute volume climax is going to mark the top for days. But I can look at that and say, this 15-minute volume climax is likely to lead to 15-minute consolidation and potentially 5% of pullback. So we then ended up chopping around a good bit, but from that 15-minute volume climax, we then pulled back 15%. So that is another indication to be watching for, to recognize for potential bearish entries. There's no resistance nearby. We just know that if we're running really hard and we see a volume climax, that bulls are very likely to have to take a breather in the short term. Overall, ICP is still a stronger name. We're going to look at some of the stronger names on the daily consolidation in just a moment. One more example, Sushi. So Sushi stood out as a lead bull. Why was it a lead bull? Because Sushi was testing its daily resistance at 7 p.m. on July 10th. What was Bitcoin doing at 7 p.m. on July 10th? I don't know, but it wasn't nearly that strong. July 10th, 7 p.m. is all the way down here. We're now nowhere near the high. But Sushi was testing the high, so easily saw relative strength. When you're in a bearish market environment, think of the bull market environment, where we would look for laggards. Bull move up, which names haven't run yet? Profit's going to go into those names. They're going to run next. Look for the laggards. The bears have the exact same thing. Look for the laggards for the bears. So if every single individual name, except for 2 or 3, are pulling back into clear daily consolidation, and you have the stronger 2 or 3 testing clear resistance, again, it's just a very low risk top fish play. Sushi relative strength today, still at highs. Aggressive bears are looking for a top fish against 1337, which was our 2-day resistance, the initial top high of the bounce. Sushi BTC would need to reject from daily resistance as well. In the end, we reject by 1%, and the reward is almost 10%. So again, if I enter, I'm not going to nail the top, but if I scale in and I enter short and my average is 131, I'm risking 3 pennies if I stop out, and the reward is 10 pennies if I don't stop out. And at Sushi BTC, double top right off resistance, which was the second half of that message. We have to see Sushi BTC reject from resistance as well for that US dollar top fish to be worthwhile. So these are just some examples. One of them was a 4-hour pullback to be looking for enough space for the 4-hour lower high. Sushi, just a straight up top fish right at resistance after the rest of the sector showed us weakness. And the third one was just a volume climax indicating a temporary top, which then developed into a longer term top after time passed and things continued to play out. So those were some bearish setups. So now who's standing out for better daily setups? So we know Bitcoin on the daily is scouting a higher low, but I'm also making note that we have retraced a good bit of the strength from last week. But look at these names. So ICP, this daily consolidation having broken resistance and now looking for a daily higher low, it's still a much more bullish setup than Bitcoin. We need a 4-hour trend change back to the bulls for the daily higher low to be shaping up, but we do have daily EMA 12 support as well. XTZ, testing the 2-day resistance. We actually broke it with no follow through. I was keeping an eye on a channel there that broke bull. So we still have XTZ standing out stronger with space for a 4-hour higher low. What about a top fish? Should I be looking bearish on XTZ? Well, if we break 1684 straight into hourly consolidation, I'd be keeping an eye out for bulls to lose momentum. So there is a potential to be looking for a bearish entry on XTZ. But again, we will certainly be looking for a daily higher low next time we pull back here. And Atom, same deal, looking for a daily higher low, EMA 12 support. We actually already broke the high of yesterday. Quick little 4-hour trend change. So I can look at these names that are standing out stronger today. Link as well, trying for a quick daily higher low. And I can say, Matic's a cup and handle here. Potential cup and handle. I mean, that looks like the 12-hour of the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. But I can say that these names are positioned well if Bitcoin sets a daily higher low. And that's the big if. If Bitcoin shapes up a daily higher low, these names are positioned well to head back to recent highs. If Bitcoin does not set up a daily higher low and keeps dropping for another 2 days, then this relative strength is likely to fade. So it always boils back to watching Bitcoin as our major guide and then looking at who's relatively stronger and who's relatively weaker and trying to play off of that. All right. GMT, scouting a daily higher low, 4-hour, did get oversold. Potential 4-hour bear flag at the moment. Great volatility in both directions on GMT. Look at the daily stair steps. If you are only playing daily stair steps, we ruined it there. It wasn't perfect. But higher low every day. That pattern breaks at 987 and we pull back 15%. All right, I'm reading the chat room. It is definitely more difficult. Again, I'm not shorting the crypto space because it is difficult to find places to do so in the US, but I've done nothing but short the stock market today, and because they're so correlated, it's roughly the same thing. Those crypto miners had a mini short squeeze. MARA up 55% in 2 days. Daily inside bar today. So cooling off a bit. If you are newer, again, we've got paid chat room, we got paid courses, but if you are newer to the channel, utilize all of the free stuff that we have first. Utilize the free intro to TA course and all that other content. And then if you like that stuff, then you move to the paid stuff. That way, we have happy customers. I don't have to deal with people that join up and say, I thought this was going to be blah, 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 blah. You know exactly what you're getting due to all the free stuff that we put out there. Makes life a lot easier. Thoughts on the dollar topping out at 108? What indication do we have that the dollar is topping out at 108? So, I mean, yeah, I could absolutely see some short-term consolidation, but that number doesn't mean anything to me. That would just mean, okay, bulls got a bit extended in the short term, and we're going to look for a 4-hour higher low. So it's entirely possible that if we form a 4-hour inside bar and then it breaks bear, that we see a temporary top here, but the 4-hour uptrend is the guide. We've been setting 4-hour higher lows for a while at this point, over a week. Nothing changes with the dollar until the 4-hour uptrend is lost. Checking .BTC, trying for a weekly higher low. Need a 4-hour trend change back to the bulls. We got a little tightening range on the 4-hour here. .USDT. Oh man, is that weaker? So we are very weak comparative. I mean, you look at the 2-day time frame. We had Ethereum test resistance. We had Bitcoin test resistance. DOT's resistance was 849. We didn't get within 20% of that level. This is easily a lead bear with daily, 2-day EMA 12 resistance. If that is going to change, .BTC has to see a notable bull break. It's trying to shape one up. It's trading sideways. Look at the 12-hour time frame. It's trading sideways the last 3-4 days. If this does not break bull, then we're going to remain a lead bear. Would I be buying any long-term positions here in crypto if I didn't have any? Absolutely. This is the kind of fear where I want to establish longer-term positions. How high can the dollar reasonably go? That doesn't have an answer. It can go to 110, 115, 120. Why not? We just broke a multiple-year, 6-month equilibrium bullish at 103, and we've been following through. This was a tightening range from 2015 to 2022. That was a 7-year tightening range that broke bull. We hit 121, we hit 164. So I will not put any kind of top call on the dollar. Stick with the trends. Dollar can go up as long as it has uptrends on every single time frame, which it currently does. The snippets that I showed are from our Slack chat room, yes. Awesome, Chris. Glad the stair-step strategy is worthwhile. So Chris says 5 years into trading, stair-step strategy is the most useful for him. So Google stair-step chart guys and check out that video. We got wedges videos, we got fib videos, we got bottom fishing videos. Find your edge. Play around with different styles, see what resonates with you. See what kind of trades work well. Some people love playing bounces, some people hate them. Some people love shorting, some people really struggle to short. Everybody is different. Fibs can work on any time frame. Does not have to be longer term. I use the fibs on the 5 minute to gauge sizes of the bounce. Metals are not going anywhere as long as the dollar is strong. They have the strongest inverse relationship to the dollar. And they've been showing that the last week. So really what it all boils down to, again, if this pretty much that Bitcoin NASDAQ chart showing relative strength, this also, I can take this and interpret this as who should I be focusing on? And if this is sideways, then the broader stock market is king as far as crypto is concerned. So I won't even pay attention to Bitcoin if we're sideways here. It's all the broader stock market. So the question over the next 12 to 24 hours, can the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ futures chart confirm an hourly trend change to continue shaping up the possibility of a 12-hour bull flag? That is all that matters for the crypto sector. I mean, aside, if you're trading the altcoins actively, then obviously you're watching these little names that are standing out stronger, some standing out weaker. You're a lot more in depth. But if you are swing trading, or if you are only focused on Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's the stock market. That is going to dictate what happens in the short term. So I know what the bulls have to do in the short term to shift momentum back in their favor after a bearish start to the week. And if that does not happen, bears gain confidence. Where can you find the hedging snippet? Go to our Twitter and look back within the last 24 hours. I haven't made a bunch of posts. There's probably 6 posts. It's one of those. Slack chat it's all on our website, chartguys.com, all that information. QQQ Bears still in control of the short term here with hourly consolidation underway. Thanks, Mr. Flight School Moderator. Mr. or Mrs. Glad to hear that, Dylan. Stick with it. All right, I'm out of here. We're watching the hourly consolidation. Burden on bulls to change the hourly trend back in their favor. I appreciate you all. Hey, it's Lori. I appreciate you all tuning in. And we'll be back soon. Follow our Twitter as well. Always checking in. You know, I'm posting stuff about the broader market, and I just have to keep banging into everybody's heads that if I'm talking about the broader market, I'm talking about crypto as well. Even if I don't specifically say so, we know that the correlation is strong enough that any post I make on the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ is relevant to the crypto sector. CMPS was a nice top fish today. There was someone else in the chat room who was all over that. What's next for Bitcoin? A daily higher low. Watching for a daily higher low over the next few days. CPI numbers will have an impact. I should say the reaction to CPI numbers will have an impact whether the daily higher low is shaping up or not. All right, do good things out there. Have a great day.